Whole Hog Sports, Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Tom, anything maybe outside of injuries, listening to Sam yesterday on the teleconference and then also last night at his coach's show that you took away heading into this matchup come Saturday?
I wouldn't say so. Canal Walker's in concussion protocol, and, it didn't look like a good one. So usually, it's got to be pretty mild, I think, for them to come back in 1 week. So I think he said on radio last night that he would be probably listed as doubtful if they had to do listings this week, which they don't. So, test the depth at cornerback a little more. And I think it was hurtful for them that Quincy Rhodes was not at basically 100% with the pass rush last weekend at Ole Miss. Mm-hmm. He could have been a difference maker. One stop somewhere along the way could have been the key to winning that game.
He did make that key play pushing Chambliss out of bounds. They got Arkansas the ball back, but you could tell he wasn't fully healthy. And I know Pittman touched on that. Tom, you got another dual threat guy you're playing this week in Brendan Lewis. Not the exact same player as Trinidad Chambliss, but a similar style of quarterback that you've had to play in Rayner at A-State and this kid this past week, and now you got another one on Saturday.
Yeah, you do. And I think Memphis might be better suited to establish their ground game. Arkansas has been good against the run so far, but this is a quality RPO game with the inside zone, and if Brendan Lewis makes good reads, those things are hard to stop. And so they're going to have to be really sound with that part of their game. And then, this is going to be a really tough game. It's on the road. You're down from losing the Ole Miss game, but so I think they're going to have to score a good number of points. And we'll just see if what they've talked about this week, simplifying their communication on defense, pays some dividends. They appear to be in better positions this week than last week when Ole Miss. I think the most stunning part of how Ole Miss performed was I didn't think a backup quarterback would be able to pass the ball on them as successfully as Trinidad Chambliss did.
So if you can't get a pass rush this week against Memphis, if you can't get home to the quarterback this week, how much hope do you have that you can do it in any SEC game?
It does spell some trouble, and I think it's the one issue that going through camp we're kind of concerned about. Quincy Rhodes being what seemed to be a standout pass rusher or one in bloom, but besides him, would they get much out of Lee? Well, it turns out Lee's giving them something, but Justice Boone's got to give them a little bit more. And, Ken Talley, I don't know how deep they need to go, Charlie Collins, but people have got to provide more because I don't think you can afford to send 5 and 6 guys.
No.
And because they tried that against Ole Miss, and when they did, they weren't getting home. And Kanai Walker's the one they really got after. Julian Neal had a pretty good game, but unfortunately for Kanai, before he got hurt, they really targeted him, and it was successful. So they've got to be able to rely more on 4 and 5 guys going to the quarterback, so their DBs don't get left out exposed so much.
So if that doesn't work, is it time to have a conversation about sending 3 and dropping 8, and maybe using corner blitz or delayed blitz, some other thing? I'm not the mechanic here. I don't know, but Arkansas's done that before with quarterbacks that like to throw the ball, and then when they got mobile, they could contain the edges. There's worse things than sending 3 and dropping 8.
Exactly, and that's in their tool bag, as we know. All the way back to Barry Odom using that against Mississippi State in 2020. Sam Pittman's first win, that was huge. And then last year, it was largely successful against Nico Iamaleava in Tennessee. It basically won the game. And I think it limited Texas as well in that 20-10 game. So it's certainly in Travis Williams' bag. And I don't know if it's something you'd employ a lot against Memphis, but I think with Tennessee coming up in a couple of weeks, and then who knows what they'll do against Notre Dame. But I think stopping the ground game is the real critical part against Memphis. And maybe they don't have as much success passing the ball as Ole Miss did.
Speaking of success, Tom, Arkansas and Sam Pittman had success. I think he's 3-0 in the Liberty Bowl. I know that this will be the first time he'll actually play Memphis rather than K-State or Kansas. But in terms of just fans coming over and what they can expect this week, you've been there, I know. What's your favorite part of Memphis?
Yeah, you just asked me that question, really. I like some restaurants.
I-40 West. That's
God, man, I'm going to hex the crap out of this. Yeah. Our drive last week going toward Memphis on Friday was about as smooth. I don't know what all the tractor trailers were doing. On the way back, it was more jammed up. But y'all know, going over there, getting behind back-to-back, tractor trailers who were in both lanes and just staying there is a common thing. Yep. So it's not my fondest trip. That stretch of I-40 can be pretty brutal, especially when they were doing the construction. But there's some restaurants I like in Memphis and what have you. But, I did some research, and not full research for like Sam Pittman's years at Northern Illinois and some of his years with games in Memphis. But Travis Williams' UCF team went in there and beat Memphis. Bobby Petrino, his head coach at Louisville, went in and beat Memphis. And Petrino and Sam Pittman obviously is a 2-0 with bowl games. And the Petrino's 2010 Arkansas team won in the Liberty Bowl. Yep. So the coaching staff has done quite well in Memphis. And
players-wise, Silverfield was talking about having to play Ashton Genty and Talon when they were on Boise State. Omega Blake played them last year when he was at Charlotte. So you got plenty of player connections, Tom, in addition to coaches that have played Memphis too.
Yeah, you do. And that game, I did some research on that. The Charlotte-Memphis game last year was wild. It was low scoring heading into the fourth quarter, and then it just turned into just a blitzkrieg, and Charlotte wound up taking the lead 28-24 with a minute something left, and then Memphis goes bam, bam, and scores in just a couple plays and takes the lead again. And so that just kind of shows you how hard it is to beat Memphis there. That's why this is a tough game for the Razorbacks, that they're not a team that's going to collapse at home. You just got to keep hammering them and staying on top of them, because you don't want them to have a chance in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Did you like the running balance, the rushing balance with Arkansas last week? I know it's a conference game. You do what you got to do to win the game, but can you survive a season? Can you keep Talon Green healthy if he's pulling and running himself as many times as he did last week compared to Mike Washington or Braylon Russell?
Yeah, that's a great question. And obviously in the fourth quarter, Talon was having some what looked like cramping issues.
Yeah,
and he ended up they called the timeout because, he had to give his hamstring or thigh or a rest, or the cramping area. So that's a great question. I would like to see him run a few times less per game just for his overall health, but he's so good. Mm-hmm. He's only made a few plays where I thought he made a false read on the RPO game this year, and I did like the run pass balance, but I wish they would establish their backs a little bit more, because if they do that, you don't have to run Talon as much, and they're probably going to try that in this game. If they hit, Memphis is going to do a lot of twisting things with their defense, and if they could hit them in spaces where guys are departing and they get a seal block from somebody, they can run some big plays. But there's been other games where teams have done that to them, and I'm thinking like Liberty back in 23 or whatever year that was, where they ran in and they messed with the mesh point so badly that it threw the Arkansas offense off its game. And that's what you have to try to avoid, that you can hit behind the guys who are coming in and get into open space.
I want to go back to something you said there at the start of your comment, is his reads on the RPO plays. He is so, and I'm sure you've went back and watched the TV broadcast of the old. He is so good. I know 4 or 5 times he faked the camera out where they followed, Mike Washington or Russell or someone, and he pulls and runs around the end. His handwork on those plays and leaving it in the belly so long is what makes it effective, but he's really good at the deception part of that play, Tom.
Tremendous at it, and that just goes back to part and parcel of being a second year in the Petrino offense. It's amazing to see how Petrino has evolved from when he was here as a head coach, and he had basically drop back quarterbacks in Mallett and Wilson, to what they're doing now. And it's the skill of the handwork, and I've been faked out 2 or 3 times per game on whether the back had it or whether Talon had it. And so if that's happening to me, it's happening to the cameraman as well.
And it's happening to the defense too.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, and that's the whole key to it. And he's just been really, really good at that.
Tom, I don't know if you saw the stat. We're talking about Talon and the rushing game. Offensive line from Pro Football Focus has been graded as the best offensive line through 3 weeks. Offensively, I listened to Fernando Carmona Jr. talk about that group and what they were able to establish comparatively the last 3 years. I mean, what have you thought about this offensive line through 3 weeks? And as long as they stay healthy, are they on track to have this type of year the rest of the way?
One of the best lines Arkansas has had in recent memory. I mean, you might go back to the Pittman years as O-line coach to find one that's good. They've been tremendous. And not that I buy everything that Pro Football Focus does, because they don't know what everyone's assignments are and things like that on every given play.
Yeah.
But I think it's a decent way to look at it, and that they do rank it. And I saw a metric today, I'm not sure who did it, but that Arkansas is the most efficient offense in the country through 3 games. Now, given it's Alabama, A&M, and Arkansas State, and the Ole Miss defense, which had questions. But what they're doing is hard to stop. If you read it properly and you execute it, it's really hard to stop. And they might, to have a successful SEC season, they might have to outscore some people. And so the fact that they're going with confidence into Week 4 is a big deal, and a lot of that is due to the offensive line play.
So are we heading for another high-scoring affair? Is the defense going to play better this week? I mean, Tom, what are your thoughts in terms of what we have ahead of us Saturday morning in the Liberty Bowl?
I felt I had a really nice read on last week's game. I predicted both teams in the 30s plus and the over and all that, and that played out even with the slow start. But this game, I don't have as great a read on. I don't think Memphis is capable of scoring in the 40 the way Ole Miss did. So I think Arkansas wants to establish the run a little bit more and maybe kind of pound on Memphis some. But I don't know. I'm a little bit befuddled. I think Arkansas has the edge to win the game, but I also think Memphis has the firepower, and what they're doing defensively, Arkansas will have to work out to stay in the game. And to me, that's a dangerous proposition if they're in the game in the fourth quarter.
You don't always win your first bet. That's why MyBookie has you covered. Use our code HOGS, H-O-G-S, and your first bet up to $500 is fully covered. If your pick doesn't hit, you get it right back with our Bet Back bonus. Go to mybookie.ag and use the code HOGS to claim your Bet Back bonus. MyBookie's where bettors win together, because bragging's good, but cashing in is better. And your first bet is fully covered. Use our code HOGS.
Must opt in during the bet to use the Bet Back bonus.